Nigel's the guy that will get you close to heaven, but he'll never get you through the door. He'll always leave you at the gate. He's been on the wrong side of every issue for the last year.
Take the first step towards online privacy. Get NordVPN.
When tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes a duty. So said Thomas Jefferson. Go to bit.ly/lawful tax protest or bit.ly/make war history and find out why it is a criminal offence to pay central government or local government taxes in the UK. bit.ly/lawful tax protest or bit.ly/make war history. And let's make war history. This is an extract of a much longer video. If you want to see the whole thing, go to bit.ly/cryptorich 3speak, bit.ly/cryptorich Odyssey, or bit.ly/cryptorich Rumble. Tom, what you said about Danielle Smith, it's almost like she's the best we got. And it's like, Donald Trump, he's the best we got. He's doing a good job. Largely, like
I think Trump has been good.
He's doing a really good job, right? The argument about Danielle Smith, and bear with me for a moment here, could that also apply? And I don't think so. I'm not so sure to Nigel Farage.
No.
Now, hold on. Here's why. Now, I already said I don't think so, right? But here's why. Let me argue with myself, right?
Sure, fair enough. I'll shut up now. Let me put myself on mute.
The way that Starmer seems to be responding, rather feebly, but he's a really feeble, ineffective, awful politician who didn't win his place. Not at all. It was created for him and he was deposited there. It's not through any talent of his own. The way that he's responding to Reform's rise in the polls, plus also the fact that Reform as a new party will have taken on loads and loads of people who I suspect haven't been thoroughly vetted the way that the Labour MPs have been vetted, that they're all blow-ins, they're all faithful to Starmer versus being faithful to British people and Labour principles and policy, traditional Labour. And that Reform, the new cohort, assuming that they do get in, I saw a poll today, they're going to have predicted to have a 74-seat majority, right? But even, a whole rump of new Reform MPs come in, it's going to include people like Rupert Lowe. Now, why I don't agree with myself is because of what they did to Rupert Lowe. But just give me your take on that.
What I'll say is that what's clear that at this point is that Nigel Farage, I think, is completely captured by the City of London. His job is to bring you up to the pearly gates and then betray it. He's done it multiple times. British politics, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, is really good at creating escape pressure release valves. And so we get opposition to the existing rule. We allow a populace to rise up for a little bit, and then you squash them. And then you do it again, and then you squash the hooks, and you do it again. And Farage has played that role, I think, very, very well over the years. And I don't know. I'm gonna make it. I don't get that feel at this point, because if Farage was there to do anything other than provide a kind of cheap pressure release valve, and then he'd be closer to Trump's orbit at this point. Is my mind. He's not. He was there for years to whisper in Trump's ear the standard, kind of British City of London party line and British foreign policy line about Iran, about Ukraine, about this, but every time when it comes down to it, Nigel always gives us, and I hate to say this because I used to be a huge fan of Nigel's, but in the last year or so, it's been really obvious that he's been activated in a particular way in order to maintain the status quo. So I'm encouraged by other people within Reform pushing him to the side and then coming in and cleaning house in Parliament. But do you really think that's going to allow that? Do you think that's going to happen?
I don't know, because the other person that they've pushed out is Ben Habib,
right?
And he was also independent-minded, sovereigntist, not captured, like Rupert Lowe. Ben Habib was the deputy leader. He didn't get him. He's not an MP, but he left, and so you got these authentic sovereigntists, or those that are making the right noises that Davos doesn't want, being sidelined or kicked out of the party. Alex, your take?
Well,
if you have one.
I do have one. I don't know what happened with Nigel Farage, but I do remember that he was very close to Trump, and he was with Trump relatively often, supportive, and now he's nowhere to be seen. It's as though they don't have any kind of relationship, and you don't hear any kind of statement. Nigel Farage used to be very supportive of Trump, and he advocated Trump's corner. I don't see that anymore. But I do remember that what about a year or two ago, Nigel Farage got unbanked.
Yeah.
And it was very dramatic. He got unbanked, and then he couldn't open a bank account with anybody pretty much.
Yep.
And I had a unbanking light experience, and it's very troubling. It's really, you realize how vulnerable you are, how extremely vulnerable your whole life setup is. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if that wasn't the moment when he was brought in, when they, he got unbanked. How did he get rebanked? I don't know that part of the story, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't tell him, look, you can have a good life, you can have a good business life, you can be successful, you can have a good political life. You just can't go on like this anymore, because look what we can do to you. And then maybe he was like, because I fully expected at that point that Farage would be moving back to Monaco or to Switzerland or something, because once they throw you out of the banking system, you're cooked.
Yeah.
You're done. Like, what are you going to do? Open a fast food stand on the street? Sell hot dogs in cash? You're like really screwed. Well, somehow he's back, and he's in a more powerful position than he was before that. So I think that maybe they tamed him.
And maybe there's a redemption story here where Nigel is playing possum on them as well, and then when he gets back into power, he turns tables on them the same way that Putin turned the tables on City of London, as Alex described earlier. I'm open to that. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to see that story. But as of right now, this is what I've got. He's been on the wrong side of every issue for the last year.
Yeah,
and that's a tell. And whether that's And again, I can be generous, and I can take Alex's point of view. I'm happy to.
No, I'm not being generous. I'm just saying.
In a sense, you kind of are. You're saying, look, hey man, everybody has their price, and who am I ultimately to judge a guy that had that happen to them? That's a generous take, because I have other people telling me, oh no, this is who Nigel's always been.
No, maybe I don't know that. Maybe.
So maybe I've heard both sides. I'm just I'm throwing it out there. I'd love to see.
Just so we're clear, I didn't say what I said in his defense.
Right.
I just said it to maybe shed more color on his situation and what happened in the last relatively recent period, that he suddenly turned in some way. But as you say, he's on the wrong side of every issue. How the hell did that happen?
The reality is that when he walked away from UKIP after Brexit, that was a bad move. He stymied all of the momentum, which should have carried through into the Brexit negotiations. He should have been there to handle everything, and he didn't do so. And this is again feeding into what I've heard from Brits who have said, look, Nigel's the guy that will get you close to heaven, but he'll never get you through the door. He'll always leave you at the gate. He does it. He's done it before, because that's what City of London tells him to do. That may be that may be their opinion of him. It doesn't mean it's reality.
Yeah.
It's just just relaying what I've heard, folks. Nothing more, nothing less.
Okay.
I'd like to believe in that. I'd like to believe in the big Christian redemption story for Nigel Farage. Lead them into lead the English back into power on that island, because that island is incredibly important in the Ian Burlingame conception of how we bottle up Europe. That island is the gate. That's the gateway to all. How are they going to get to Canada? How are they going to get stuff if they're able to colonize Canada? How are they going to get their collateral from Canada into Europe if we control the Gibraltar, the English Channel, and everything? They have no way to get the stuff in there, and that's so geographically these are the choke points. When you talk about maritime sea routes and all the rest of it. So,
Yep, and then also the financial routes as well. Financial routes. I'm English, not American English. Is this you? Low energy, low libido, no get up and go? Boost your testosterone naturally and rev up your engine with Immense Boost. bit.ly/CryptoRichBoost and order your testosterone boost today.